All right, welcome to another episode of the Quest for Excellence podcast series. I'm your host, Jeff Montreal. I am joined today by a new friend of mine, Joshua Lowery. Joshua is a successful real estate investor and the owner of Crystal Coast Canine, which is a dog training and obedience school. He's also a military vet and an all-around awesome dude from what I can tell so far. So welcome, Joshua. Happy to have you here, man.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. We just met recently. You're a new friend of a friend. Lyle Burks, who's actually a part of my podcast. We have a new weekly segment going on. We just started, which is awesome. But I met you through him. We're all military vets. We all have a lot of things in common about just our values and the way we see the world and all that. I could tell that from just 5 minutes talking to you a couple days ago. So I'm super happy to have you here. I'm excited to get to know you and figure out for people like us and I can tell for you what's the secret sauce for success in your life. And I don't just mean money, but how do you find happiness? You seem like a really fulfilled, happy person. So I want to explore that a bit. But before we get into any of that, any of your military experience and why you work with dogs, which I love, I can't wait to talk about that. Before we go into anything, I like to talk about, where you came from. I don't know a damn thing about you. So if you can literally talk about whatever you want, man, just where were you born, brothers and sisters, your family, your upbringing, school life, that kind of thing. Just it's open book. Go ahead.
Awesome, man. So, yeah, I'm the oldest of 8. So
Wow.
it goes, me, and then every year after me, it goes all the way down, 8 years.
How many boys and girls? What's the split?
4 and 3.
Gotcha.
Four girls, 3 boys, and I'm the fourth.
Gotcha. Yep. So it's split even. It's 4 and 4. Wow. That's funny. All right, carry on.
So yeah, I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina. Bounced all over the place. Born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then lived in South Carolina with my parents. Parents were divorced, so I bounced back and forth from my dad's house to my mom's house, and just always trying to find my way, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Well, we know when you were young, I had a similar thing. My parents divorced, and your formative years where you went to school, like high school, grade school, that kind of thing, was that in Charlotte? Was that with your mom? Where did you kind of grow up at?
So both places. It was an off and on thing. So I lived with my mom, who was in North Carolina for 5-6 years, and then I traveled.
Oh, okay.
Down. Say again.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, I got you.
Yeah, and then went to South Carolina and stayed with my dad for a few years, and then bounced back and forth. Getting to experience both sides of life.
And how old were you during that phase? Those 8 or 9 years where you went back and forth?
Oh man, probably after 4. That's when it was like 6 years with my mom, 6 years with my dad, and so forth. It ended
okay
at 18. It ended like I was with my mom. Somehow how the numbers add up.
All right, I got you. Okay, cool, interesting. That you usually don't hear that kind of thing. It's usually like my dad. He had like weekend custody. We all lived in New Orleans. That's where I was from, and I saw him pretty much every weekend. But that's interesting to have that kind of chunk, that amount of time. So that right there, I'm curious to hear how that experience was with. So when you were, you spent your young formative years, and you really get your foundation with your mom growing up in kind of grade school, and then after that, your beginning of that junior high school was with your dad. How was that transitioning school to school? Did you maintain friends and when you left, or it must have been interesting, huh?
Super interesting. And so the challenge was, as a kid, was trying to figure out, because as a kid, the only thing you want to do is fit in. I mean, at least for me. And so I always tried different things. Like when I lived with my mom, it was, can I fit in with the sports and the after school activities and things like that. And when I was with my dad, it was, I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna try to fit in with the people that would wear all black and that crowd, you know what I mean? So it was completely different styles. I always tried to fit in, always tried to find friends. And it was actually really cool because as I was trying to find those groups to fit in with, I would meet people. And so I was friends with everyone. So it was easy for me to make friends.
You know, I had a very similar experience, and I have a feeling I'm going to be saying that a lot, dude. I think we had a lot of similar shit, and our souls just kind of recognized that, and sparks were flying. You know, nothing weird. That's how I already feel, and I had very, very similar experience, man. And you know, I want to share something with you. Just kind of side note off track for a sec, but I think you'll like this. I posted today in this group I'm in, the one that me and Lyle are in, this concept about really kind of what we're talking about, and you may have experienced this. I don't know. I'm not telling you to do this, but for anybody listening, when you're young, when you're in that phase, you know, maybe from, 8 or 9, 7, 8 or 9, when you can start playing sports and you're not, you know, a little turd anymore, and you start to have some conscious thoughts all the way through your kind of high school years, your early and late teen years, it can be hard to figure out who you are, right? And I remember I moved, real quick story. I don't want to talk about me more than just to correlate what you're saying, but well, I moved from New Orleans to Michigan. That's where my mom was from. I was 10 years old. You know, I had the same issues as you, trying to fit in. Luckily, I did, because I was kind of a jackass and I was smart. So I knew how to make people laugh. And that was me. I had like no filter, got in a bunch of trouble. But I remember, you know, that was 5th grade. So I remember in junior high, I think it was 7th grade, I was just pimple face, weird, trying to fit in, getting into some trouble, didn't know what the hell I was doing, and had no concept of any of this kind of higher level thinking. But I remember, and this is what I talked about, and it'll lead to my point, which is kind of, it sounds like what we dealt with and had to do to become who we are now. But I remember sitting in my basement. I was going to play like a video game or some shit. I'm a huge gamer, have been for over the years. I still am now, even though I don't really have time for it. But so I remember I was probably going to go play a game or something, and I stopped and sat there. It was maybe, I was feeling a little down, and there was a notebook on the ground, a blank notebook, and a pen sitting there. And long story short, I picked it up, just started writing, just like dump trucked my brain, my thoughts onto this paper. It was maybe, a couple of pages, nothing too extensive. But when I was done, I remember I was like, oh my God, I came out of like a trance. And when I was reading it, it was like somebody else wrote it, because it was one of the first times where it was like, all right, dude, you can't bullshit yourself about your circumstances. You understand what's going on, and just be real about your circumstances. And I was like, wow, it was the first time I was able to look at myself honestly. And my point was, and what I talked about today, was actually from a Ed Milet podcast with this amazing doctor. Yeah, I'll tell you more about it, or if you want to ask about it after this, go ahead. But it was incredible. And the idea was like, when you do that, her story was, real quick, her teacher came in, this doctor, gave all the kids blank notebooks, right? And said, look, and she was like 6, 7, real young, like just able to start writing and formulating thoughts, whatever. And said, look, just honestly write down your thoughts. Like, nobody is going to ever read them. And it changed her life as a little kid. And then kind of the moral of my story and her point was also, you got to give yourself permission to take a look at that authentic version of yourself. You have to be able to do that, put away your ego, whatever walls you built up, even as a young kid. When you're getting picked on for a few years, you can easily build up a pretty thick skin on how to get through, and to survive. So it was just fascinating. It sounds like we dealt with a lot of the same stuff. And eventually, let's kind of fast forward, because I have a feeling, I want to kind of not get right into your military career, but I'm curious how that formed and what happened. But at one point, I'm sure we both had to decide, all right, we can be the victim, and through divorce and having to move and leaving friends and getting new friends and fitting in and the whole dark god, that whole thing, we had to figure out after that, all right, if we want to be successful and happy, we got to create whoever that's going to be in our mind and work towards that. So I'm curious, I'm not going to say anything else about me, well, maybe later, but not about this. How did that version of you, the goth, scared, trying to fit in Joshua, just a victim of circumstance or whatever, right? How did that morph into the motivation and decision to join the military? And when did that happen? How old were you?
So do you remember when I skateboarded by the name of Danny Way, when he jumped the Great Wall of China? Did you know that?
Yeah, actually, I just know, but I knew there was a skateboarder that did that. So I kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So check this out. You remember in school they had the Scholastics book fair?
Oh, dude, I wish I still could go to them now.
Me too. So
They're awesome. Yeah, they're so fun.
I got caught up in the wrong crowd, right? And so I'm not proud of this, but I used to take things from the book fair. Well, I would
Hmm.
take things that would help me, such as so I played Pokemon. I take a Pokemon book. I wanted to learn skateboarding, so I
Nice,
took a
nice.
skateboarding book, and I hid the skateboarding book for like a year. I'm sitting down in my parents' house, and I seen this dude jump the Great Wall of China, and I was like, oh my God, if he can do that, I can do that. And so that
Hmm.
happened, I think that June, I don't know which year, maybe 2012. Um, no, it wasn't 2012. It was like a long time ago. My parents got me a skateboard that following Christmas, and I went
Hmm.
outside, and my dad had a dog. He built a dog shed out of plywood. I took down one of the sides, put it on the ground, and I started practicing on that piece of plywood. And from that skateboard, me seeing Danny Way jump the Great Wall of China, still in that book from the Scholastic Book Fair, it built discipline because I wanted to do what he did. And so I'm actually really thankful that I was trying to fit in with different people because I just got caught up in the wrong crowd and I took something that I really enjoyed because I couldn't afford it. My parents couldn't afford it.
Is it is there a reason? I understand the Pokemon because you were interested in that, probably playing the cards
Yeah.
and Game Boy, whatever. But skate was a skateboarding thing just like, oh, that looks cool. Or were you into skateboarding
You
before
know
that at
what?
all?
I didn't, my parents didn't have a lot of money growing up. So I always had
Hmm.
like, the cheapest shoes. And there was this kid, he always had the cleanest skateboarding shoes I've ever seen. And they were called Adios.
Yeah.
Like just the sickest shoes.
Okay.
So I seen him have the shoes and I thought if I can be a skateboarder, my parents will buy me some shoes and I'll be cool. That was my mentality at the time. And so
Gotcha.
that's from there it just evolved like
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me, but you broke up, and we're gonna still record and make this app. I have to do a short edit here, but if you let me know when you can hear me or when I can hear you, I guess. I'm still here. We're still recording. Not a big deal. Just if you can hear me, let me know. Hello? Hello, hello. One last chance. I'm going to end this and then I'll try to reconnect.
yeah. So from there, skateboarding kind of just took over, and I kind of just found my calling at that point.
Nice. And did you get involved with any kind of professional boarding? Did you ever jump anything cool, like some hot rod kind of stuff? Or did were you involved in any skateboarding professionally? Well, you know what I mean, even as a kid. Or was it just kind of a hobby you got really good at?
So it was for the first like year and a half. I pretty much stuck to that plywood. My dad would he wouldn't really let us go to our friend's house. He took us to this place in South Carolina when I lived with him called the Plex, and it had a huge indoor skate park.
Oh,
And
nice.
I never got to skate it. I was always like, God, man, like if I just brought my board with me, I was always scared to put my board inside my dad's vehicle because the grip tape, it scratched things up. So,
Hmm.
I would never ask him to do something like that. Um, and so it wasn't up until, I actually moved to my mom's house like a year and a half later that she's like, hey, you can move in with me. And I took that as my golden ticket. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus solely on skateboarding. And I'm going to try to build as many friends as possible. And then the vision evolved from there to, okay, I want to be professional. I want to inspire and build my own skate park.
And this is when you were 18, right? When you ended up after school back at your mom's, right? Is that correct? Is that
Yes.
at the
I think 2000. Don't. It was my second semester of my ninth grade year is when I moved in with my mom.
Oh, okay, okay. So you didn't graduate of your
Yeah,
ninth grade. So you were a freshman.
yeah,
Gotcha. And you stayed with her through your high school.
yeah. All the way to the
Okay.
military.
Okay. So awesome. Now, I'm guessing did not build a park? It's still a dream of yours, a long term goal. That's something you still want to do.
Massive indoor skate
Okay.
park. Yes, yes.
Okay. Cool. Good deal. So that's kind of a aspiration, and it is something that you did professionally, right? Because I didn't mention that. I don't think you're, going on tour across the world skateboarding. So, but that's a passion of yours, obvious.
Yes.
So after this point, from 1819 when you graduated, if you want to talk about anything that happened during your high school career in terms of development or the skateboarding world or any of that, I'm curious though, and also in essence of time, I want to make sure we get everything in here. I got about, I know I told you about an hour. I kind of have a hard stop at about maybe 30, 40 minutes. So no big deal. We got plenty of time, but let's get to your military career. So what was the spark for that? After high school, again, you mentioned which I totally understand. Maybe at some point, not made the greatest decisions about who you were hanging out with and, ways to cope and all that. But eventually realized the military was for you. And I'm curious why, and if you had inspiration from your family or anything, how'd you end up joining the military?
You know what? It wasn't my choice.
No,
it wasn't my choice. Nope. When I was in high school, I didn't skip school. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't hanging out with girls. I was always on time to class. The only thing I cared about was skating. That was it. I brought my skateboard to school in the courtyard, in the cafeteria. It was just skating, trying to get the board on the ground so that people could hear the pop and they would turn their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the time, the goal was I was working at McDonald's. Shout out to everyone working at McDonald's. It's the hardest job. You know what I mean? The goal at the time was to work at McDonald's, stack all my money, shove it into skateboarding, traveling, going to events. And my mom saw different. And so she's like, Joshua, when you graduate, what's your plan? I'm like, listen, I'm going to be a manager at McDonald's. I want to be a district manager. I'm going to work my way up the corporate ladder. I'm going to become a professional skateboarder. And I went to bed and I woke up and someone was banging on our door. And it was a
real wow.
Yeah.
Did she call them like that day and they were there the next day?
Yeah, she wasn't playing any games.
No shit. Wow. No, it's interesting, man, because you hear McDonald's is McDonald's. I've had a couple of friends, one really close friend back in the day that I saw firsthand what it was doing. Like when I met him, it was just, again, nothing against the company, whatever. Just it was a gross environment. It was like affecting his skin, and the car would smell. Just it can be a funky place. So that said, though, corporate McDonald's and McDonald's in general makes a shit ton of money. Working as an executive at McDonald's is not a bad idea. So, did your mom think that you needed some discipline when you already told me when you were young and you got your board and found Denny Way and all that stuff? You already had some discipline instilled in you. Did she not take it seriously and thought that what the hell is going to become a skateboarder, blah, blah, blah. What was that it? Because it sounded like you weren't a delinquent. Like you said, you weren't doing drugs and getting in trouble. What was her motivation for motivating you to do that?
Honestly, I think it was vision. It was a lack of vision. I wasn't selling the vision. You know what I mean? I was just like, I'm going to be a skateboarder. And that was it. There was no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here. These are my plans. It was just, I'm going to be a professional skateboarder.
And I guess a professional skateboarder laced with a McDonald's manager to some people might not sound, that appealing. And I understand.
And you know what, Jeff? It wasn't, I always thought vague. And I noticed that when I worked at McDonald's, because when I worked there, I had this guy named, he was the manager, right? Well, there's this lady came in here. She was older. She had short hair. She wore a black shirt, jeans, and she came in with two guys. And she walked in like a boss. And once I found out who she was, I found out that she owned multiple McDonald's. She was the manager of multiple. And so I said I wanted to be her. And so that was my plan, was to be the district manager, multiple stores, and to skateboard.
Gotcha. And really, again, it's not if you want to be a Grant Cardone or a multi-bajillionaire influencer or entrepreneur or whatever, cool. But if you just want to make a decent living, and that, again, not talking about the quality of the food or what you're peddling, but it's not bad path. So I'm curious. I've always wondered about those parallel universes. Like, what would Joshua have been as a McDonald's exec? Would you have a completely different life? Obviously, you would have, but how would that have affected you? I wonder what your mom's foresight was, and the reasoning behind this. All right, so dudes at your door. Let's fast forward to basic training, because I was been there. Talk about the bus when you got dropped off on your way to your first post at your training post. Just give me some of your initial beginning. Holy shit, I'm actually here. It's wild. And then we'll go through your military career.
I was sitting in the front. As soon as the guy stepped on the bus, he was spitting on me, and the only thing I thought was, holy shit, what did I get myself into?
Everybody says the same thing, man. There's no unless you're like psychopath and you love pain, you're just like, hell yeah. You are not prepared for that first like hour. Eventually you're like, all right, they're not going to punch me in the face. I will survive this. But that first couple hours, like, oh my God.
Brutal.
Yo, dude, horrible. And real quick thing, I'll continue. I'm a firm believer, and I don't mean as a career or get deployed, but I think like they do in Israel, every single citizen should have to go through boot camp. At least go through basic training.
Agreed.
You don't have to join the military, but when you're done with high school, you go to boot camp. It's just like going to college or the natural progression. If we did I'm telling you, I know in my soul, we would have way fewer problems. People would be way less victim-y and more grateful.
I agree.
So anyway, all right, you're at basic, getting your ass kicked. You were a Marine, right? You're in Marines?
Yep. No, I was in the Marine Corps.
That's what, okay. And you were active, right?
Yep, I was active duty. Shout out! Today's our 246th birthday, I believe.
Yeah. I saw you post. I saw a few people, actually a bunch of people post about it. Absolutely. So happy birthday to Marines. Appreciate your service. So look, this next part, because I want to hear about your experience in the military, but it's going to be touchy. I've had some really intense, dramatic, like movie scene experiences that I was not expecting people talking about their military experience. So I'm not saying you've been in some Black Hawk Down crazy friggin' Vietnam stories, but, if you want to talk about what the military did for you, if there's any stories that really stick out, if you were deployed, if you are a combat vet, I don't know any of that shit. So you can just give me your military bleh, and I'm super excited to hear about it.
So if I had to sum up the military in one word, my entire experience, all 8 years, it was awareness. Because you really, honestly, Jeff, you don't know what you sign until the time comes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't figure out what I signed until I re-enlisted. And when I re-enlisted, I was a career planner, so I dealt with re-enlistments, Marines that were re-enlisted, Marines that went drill instructor, recruiting. So I was the liaison to send them to do, those types of billets, those types of jobs. And so it was my job to go over the contract with them to show them exactly what they're signing. And as I'm reading it for the first time after 4 years, I'm like, man, like, you guys really have no idea what you're signed up for. You really don't. And I love the military. I don't speak bad on them. I love them. I love what they do. You just have to be aware of the people around you, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and why you're there.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's like any organization, man. And once you embrace this, you're prepared for it and you're ready when you get into groups of people, big or small. But any organization's going to have some bad apples. I don't care who you are, whether it's your 4-person friggin' 8th grade project team. One of them's going to be a doucher and not do the work. Or if you're in the military, you're going to find a bunch of people who are not good people that are there for the wrong reasons. I have my military experience was good and bad. It was very yin and yang for me. I had some great things happen to me and some not so good, made some good and bad decisions. And also externally, it was good and bad, I support our military 100%. 100%. People don't do it enough.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. So you're right, man. I love that. And I'm curious about, you said awareness. Do you mean a really distinct personal awareness or more of an awareness of your surroundings, or both, or because they're kind of the same? What do you mean by that exactly?
So awareness meaning what your plans are in life. You know what I mean? Because you have
Gotcha.
People that are in the military to stay in, right? And then you have people who are in the military who are just trying to make it to the next term, right? The next 4 years. And then you have people who are just there as a stepping stone for college, trying to get a degree, whatever the case is. And so when you're in it, you're not really aware because you're like everyone else is in the pool with you. And so, until you step back and you're like, okay, this guy's doing this guy's doing this. What am I doing? Why am I here? If you're not aware, you're going to be taken advantage of. And the only reason why I say that is because I was a career planner and I experienced it with all of my battalions.
You know, that's fascinating, dude. I've never heard anybody really describe it like that. And you're right, because think about it. They want you, especially in the beginning, during your beginning training, even like your first couple of years, they want you not to feel like a unique soldier, really, in all the branches. They want you to feel like you're a part of this unit. You're one of the many, right? Which can be debilitating to people who aren't really strong in who they are. You know, their limited view of themselves, their limited foundation can be completely wiped away when you get in the surroundings. And when you come out the other side, the people who come home after being deployed or even after not being deployed, just getting out of that environment. You know, I've never really thought about it that way. So, and again, there's bad people in any organization. The military does not fish for, it's not how it happens. You know, you might see recruiters at grocery stores, but this recruiting and stuff going on everywhere for everything at all times. It's not, let's not even go there. So, but no, that's an interesting take on that. I really never thought about it exactly that way. Because if you're not prepared, because you're not prepared, but if you're not at least kind of prepared as a person, you're screwed, really. Or the chances of you being successful through the military are a lot more difficult. So, interesting point. So, all right, through the basic stuff, I want to hear. 8 years is a long time. Were you deployed?
Yes. A few deployments. But I didn't get the chance to go to Afghanistan, but I did go to like Burundi, Okinawa, Philippines, Djibouti. Like nice. I went to some exotic places and some nice places.
Awesome. Where'd you go in the Philippines? I was lucky enough to go there when I was younger.
So we did an exercise out there called Balikatan, and so we were out probably an hour from the airport, just in the middle of the desert. You know.
Okay, gotcha. Cool, awesome. Well, that sounds like you've amazing, dude. I've had limited world travels. I've been throughout Europe and then in the Philippines and Malaysia when I was younger for some world. Oh, it was incredible, man. Like Florence and Assisi and Venice and Rome. I should. If you can never go to Rome, go to Rome. This is for you and everybody else. If you haven't been there, it's such a breathtaking city, and Paris, as long as things are safe. But anyway, so world travel is amazing. You got deployed. Any combat tours?
Nope.
Did you see? No. Okay. Well, it doesn't matter.
It was funny. I'll give you this quick story. So I was actually supposed to, when I came from Japan, I was in Japan for about 2 years, and then I came back to the States. I came back in like a June, and I was actually supposed to deploy in September. Well, in August of 2013, I got a speeding ticket, 92 and a 55, and I actually got kicked off the deployment. And they said they got kicked me off the Afghan deployment and put me on the Burundi and Africa deployment. So I was actually
for over a speeding.
Oh my gosh, man! Yeah, 92 and a 55. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, coming home from work, and the rest is history.
Oh, no shit! I didn't. That's interesting. I didn't know something like that could do that. Wow. No, I wonder again, man. I don't even want to use too much brain power on this, so we could talk about it for an hour and the cosmic things. No, but I wonder, right? If you would have been more responsible that evening, of how your life would have went. It's crazy, little things like that. You just wanted to get your ass home and get some meal, or get some sleep, or get some booty or something, whatever it was. You just wanted to get your ass home, and look what happened. That's wild, interesting. So, all right, so cool. Still. Just similar to me, you take someone like me or someone like you or someone who's been in like 18 tours and they're Rambo, you still get a lot out of the military. Like I had no deployments. I did my 3x5. I was a cook. They wanted me to be an officer, and then they screwed up my entire enlistment. It was nuts. They were actually going to let me get out, and they were like, all right, dude, you can do whatever you want. So I'm a restaurant guy. I've been in restaurants for like 20 years. It's kind of my professional career was, as a manager and leader in restaurants and stuff. So I did that. I was a 92 Golf. I was a cook for the Army National Guard. So that, great experience, worked with and trained with and supported a ton of guys that did get deployed and didn't see combat and, they still contact a little bit. So good experience, great people. So again, appreciate your service. I know it's weird to say that.
Right.
To hear it, but all right. Saw the world, met a shit ton of people, learned a lot in kind of a leadership role. Also, I can tell you're a decent person because you're helping recruits go over their contracts and make sure they know what the hell is going on, at least to the best of your ability. So, your life is forming into this your success character and your avatar is pretty set. You know what you want to do. So I'm curious, from getting out of the military, and you said 8 years you were in. You joined when you were 19, so you're 27 at this point when you got out.
So I was. Yep, you are right. Correct. Yep.
27. All right, cool. I try to pay attention. I do take notes on my memories. Anyway, so 27, you're out, and I guess how you got into, and you could wrap this up however you want, how you got into real estate and then into the canine training, because I'm not so much into real estate. I will be one day, but I freaking love dogs, man. So I'm curious how, if you are too, if you were, dog dude as a kid, you had a dog growing up and all that. So if you want to kind of power through that, because I got about 15, 20 minutes left. Maybe we can extend it a little bit. No hard stop. Just let's try to get through this part. But I'm curious, where did all that come from? You could pick one or do both, and then I'm sure because your partner, who we haven't really talked about, which you can discuss, Alexis, she is involved with the canine business with you as well. So yeah, intertwine all that shit together into one beautiful story.
So just step back for a second. Went to my Africa deployment, came back, started my first business in 2014. It was actually a dog training company. Doing 6 figures a year, making more money than I was in the Marine Corps. Got out of the military, moved to Ohio, and went through a divorce. And I was literally got on Google and I was like, what's the best way to make money? And, doctors, real estate, you saw tech. And I was like, this guy before I got out told me that real estate was the worst investment that you could ever make. And I said, you know what? I'm going to prove him wrong. And I literally bought a course from this guy from my mentor. I bought this course. I paid about $300, went through it. And then within 30 days, made 10 grand on my first wholesale deal.
Nice. Hell yeah, man. Now, look, I want everybody who's listening to hear this, because the part of the, I am a new digital entrepreneur who's going to be incredibly successful. You've already found success. I want people to hear what he just said. You were told by someone who's probably had no success in it. That's why they told you that. But you bought a course, which was the first step. You spent some money online, which, guys, I'm sorry. You could go on YouTube and learn a whole bunch of shit on how to make money online. You can. But if you want, and this is the point, when you pay for something intrinsically in your mind, it's more valuable. So when you drop $300, you're going to damn sure make sure that's money well spent. That's the idea behind it. That same course for free is not going to have the impact it had. So you have to spend money to learn from people, to get a mentor, to get a course, to go through a webinar. It's not just always free shit, give me money right now immediately. The instant gratification is not going to get you anywhere. But for you, dude, it's $300 within 30 days. You made 10 grand. 10 grand is kind of that benchmark. All right, like kind of like mini first goal for a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of people can live pretty comfortably, start to save, grow their business with 10 grand a month. So I'm assuming that happened, and you kept going with the real estate. And real quick, I don't want to waste too much time on the earlier part, but were you still in the dog training thing while you were doing this? Was that still the original business?
I gave that up. I gave it to my past life.
Okay, understood. So real estate was your thing. You're rocking it, 10 grand a month. Go from there. What happened in the next, couple years or whatever?
I wholesaled my first house, and then I went to this real estate school out of Ohio called Fireland Title. Shout out to Ben. He taught me more about multifamily, and I found Grant Cardone, and I was like, you know what? Multifamily is the way to go. And there wasn't a lot of multifamily where I was at the time, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna flip my first house. And so flipped my first house, bought another house for $4,500, moved into it, rehabbed it, flipped it with Alexis. And from there, moved back to North Carolina.
What city was that in? That was in Ohio, right?
Akron, Ohio.
Okay. Oh, okay. I got you. Just making sure. I know that's where you moved to, and the divorce and started all this. And is that where you met Alexis and?
So I met Akron? Alexis here in North Carolina. Yeah.
North Carolina. Gotcha. Okay, cool. So, all right. So you moved back. You guys are together. Your real estate business is kicking ass. Were you involved in just a couple of markets? Were you going all over the country? Were you staying real focused in one market? How did that grow? How did your real estate kind of empire grow? Whatever you want to call it.
So when I did my first house, I thought I can do it myself and hire, one or two contractors. And we basically just worked on the house for 5 and 6 months, just from baseboards to carpet to plumbing to electric. I spent those 6 months and I learned everything about a house and how to put it together. And at the time I was rehabbing my own personal house, trying to build that and, flip 2 houses at once. And so that's where my real estate, I was like, you know what, I'm not a huge fan of doing labor. I would rather, bring people together and build an actual business. And so my real estate, I try to figure exactly what it is that I want. And I said, you know what, I want multifamily. I want cash flow, mailbox money, wake up, you got money in the bank, and I was like, the best way to do that from, the real estate investors that I'm learning from is multifamily. So I need to find something that I can make money in and take a big piece of chunk and shove it into real estate, like a big piece of money and shove it into real estate. And so from there, I evolved into the life insurance industry.
Gotcha.
Yes,
I was for almost a year, trained with Northwestern Mutual. I was not a practicing financial advisor, but I was getting there and I was doing really well. I was almost on the cusp, but just didn't work out I was traveling from Ohio to Michigan where most of my people were. And it was just, the logistics were nuts, like 3 hours for, a 30-minute non-fruitful call. And it was happening like all week, every week. It was too much. I didn't really think it up. But anyway, so life insurance, I got you. So are you licensed? Do you still do that?
Hustle at this moment.
Yep. Oh, gotcha. Awesome. Cool. And people get a little icky about life insurance, but from someone who got it underneath the curtain and saw really what's going on, it's not a scam, dudes. And dude, it's not a scam at all. It's the reason people think it's weird is because it's not instant gratification. It's not something you can put your hands on right that moment, but you got to think medium, long term. You got to think legacy. You got to think your kids. And it's super important. So cool. I'll get some information about that if, from your company business, but so life insurance. All right. So you're that, and where did the canine thing sneak in? What year did that start? How long is the Crystal? I forget the name of her. I'm sorry. Crystal Coast Canine. Yeah, when did that happen? How did that burst through all of this stuff? Because I haven't heard you mention anything about being a dog lover, having a herd, walking dogs. Like how did this evolve? Was it her passion project that you guys are now doing together, or what?
When we moved back from Ohio, I had gotten to the life insurance industry, and she had started her own company, a Airbnb and vacation rental concierge business in South North Carolina. And so during those times, she was like, trying to get the business on automatic, and she recently just got the business producing cash flow where she doesn't have to work in the business anymore. So now she's like, hey Josh,
awesome.
like, you know a lot about, you had a dog training company and I love dogs. I've always wanted to have one. How about we build an empire, another one? And I was like, you know what? I love dogs. I love people. I love teaching people how to train their animals and allowing them to coexist, in harmony. And so I was like, you know what? Let's freaking do it. So 2020, we had the pandemic. We were like, you know what? This is the perfect time to take advantage of what's going on. And we started Crystal Coast Canine.
Love it, man. I saw some of your videos, your training videos. You're obviously doing good work. The dogs look super obedient. They're not doing crazy shit for the couple that I saw. Yeah, no, again, I don't know. I have no idea, but it looked quality. It really did. The company seems super legit. I love the look and logo and all that. So it's great. So I guess really quickly, how did that evolve from, like logo design and setting up the LLC to right now? How has that been doing that kind of business?
You're talking about with the dog training company?
Yeah. From birth, which, how long have you had the business? Crystal Coast?
Officially, it's like LLC. It's been a few months, but we've been doing training and getting everything ready for about a year now.
All right, gotcha. So how's it been? How have these few months been? Are you getting clients? It's going pretty well.
Been a year ahead. That's all I can say. We would have been a year. You know what I mean? Alexis and I, we are huge advocates for self-accountability and taking action really, really fast. So when we hear something, we read, we learn, we trust, but we verify. We want to know, does it work? And if it does, how fast can we implement it? And then can we teach other people so they can implement it? And so we just hit the ground running. I said, Alexis, we need to do this. We need to find clients. We need to get advertisement logo. And within a week, we were set up, ready to rock. I was already getting consultations. And next thing you know, we had 3 dogs and started training like we've been doing this for 10 years.
Dude, that's amazing. And I'm going to say this again. Everybody should have to go to friggin' basic training after high school, because think about this, man. That builds your confidence up, right? So you already got that good to go. I don't care. If you get through basic, your confidence went up like a bajillion amount, exponentially grew, okay? Yes, you're like level 10,000, over 9,000. You're killing it. So you got that, right? So based on what you just said, it reminded me of like a mission. And you've been doing it for however many years now, since you graduated and after you got out of the military. It's like, all right, I want to build this empire, do this thing, start this business, go. What do I need to do? And it wasn't like you decided like jump in blindly, cannonball into the lava pool. No, you take immediate action, but you also talked about testing, seeing what works, then deploying, not just taking stupid, risky action. It is about taking immediate, imperfect action, but being able to pivot on a friggin' dime, like immediately. And because this is what happens when people don't do that. You know, you have a great idea. Let's say, you know, you're doing crystal, whatever, and you find out there's already a name for that. You were so into your name. You love the name. So your dream is ruined. Pivot, create something new, get a new logo, do the same damn thing, rock it out, and use it as fuel to destroy that other company in a nice, professional way.
You know what, Jeff? Sorry.
So
what happens?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
What I've come to realize is a lot of people get stuck. And what I mean by stuck is, all right, so let's say Crystal Coast K9, that name was taken, right? But in my head, I had this thing called the Dog Whisperer, for example. I would get so consumed with trying to figure out the logo and the name that it would take me a year or 2 years, instead of just sticking with the Dog Whisperer, for example, and then coming back later, circling back when I'm, you know, taking action and I'm finding new things and get inspired, and then change the name and just stick with it and move forward. Just keep going and go back and change it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
people get so worried about what people are going to think about. Dude, screw that. Just go, because this is, how the hell are you going to get better if you don't do something silly or make a mistake or do it inefficiently? And then you know, on the other side is that are the wins, is that compound growth. I totally agree. I love it, dude. I knew we were going to get along, bro. This is, we're touching tips here. This is incredible. This is fantastic. And I completely agree. I love the way you described that. I am going to do some Nostradamus here. Your business is going to kill it. You're going to do very well. You're going to get tons of clients. You're going to be on TLC with friggin' I forget his name from the Dog Whisperer, but it's going to be awesome, dude. That's fantastic. And you know, I was going to ask you for some advice, and because I've got some time left here, and I got a couple more questions I want to hear about where people can find you. But that last chunk right there, if you're still here and you're still with us, that is really what it's all about. The first part, and really a huge part of why I'm doing this is to get people ready for that next step mentally. This isn't how to make $1 million. This is not how to be a manly man. This is not how to run your business. This is how to get yourself mentally prepared by learning from people like us who've been through it. And it's really simple. People try to convolute and make things complicated. No, just take action. Don't give two flying shits what anybody thinks about what you're doing. If it's genuine, it's coming from your heart, and you're doing it with confidence, right? Which all those things come from within. That's all from you. You're good to go. So I love it. You've been able to pivot since you wanted to become a corporate executive at McDonald's. You didn't bitch and complain. You did what your mom told you to do. You knew she loved you. It wasn't out of spite or to get you out of the house. You took it seriously. Look what happened, man. For real. It's incredible. I love the story. This is just side note. I'd love to have you back too. We could have done this for a couple of hours. I wish I would have known better and scheduled more time for us. But I do want to have another conversation. I've told this to every one of my guests to have you back, especially you. I want to see how your business is doing. And I've been saying like 3 to 6 months, maybe in a couple of months, and see how you're doing. I'd love to help promote. And I know I don't live in that state or that city, but it doesn't matter. It's the internet. We can do whatever the hell we want. So couple quick questions at the end here, and these aren't always the same, but it's interesting how they change for each person, because some people go through these intense struggles and fight their way through and then have an epiphany, and some people like you just you take the hand you're dealt and make the best out of it, and do the best you can do and kick ass in the process. So if you can give anybody either struggling right now to do what we've been talking about, take imperfect action, believe in themselves, all that, if you can give any kind of advice for someone like that, or if someone who kind of already has that but are looking to do what you've done, start a business, grow that business, get clients, for people just starting out who are dealing with that fear wall right in front of them, any tidbits of knowledge would be awesome.
You know what, the one thing that I always tell everyone, because they ask me the same thing that you're asking Jeff, is you have to get clear about what it is exactly you want. You can't go find treasure without a treasure map. And the treasure map that I'm talking about is literally a pen and a piece of paper. And that would be writing down your goals and what exactly it is that you want. I recommend once a day. Some people say twice. I say once a day. And you need to review every single day what it is exactly that you want, where you're going, and how long it's going to take you to get there, whatever the case is. Because once you have direction and you know what it is you want and where you're going, it gives you a meaning to go fight for something. It gives you a reason to push through those barriers when someone tells you no, when something didn't go, you didn't get that loan, family member leaves this planet. It gives you a reason to continue to push forward because you know where you're going. And then you can see that every day. When you have a failure, there's no such thing as failure. It's a learning experience. Quote unquote failure. You go back to the drawing board. You go back to your treasure map, which is that piece of paper, the things that you desire or that you want. So that's where I would tell everyone who's struggling, just get clear, write it down, and figure out exactly what it is that you want.
Fantastic, man. And this kind of comes full circle with what I talked about earlier in our talk here about, that when I wrote that journal entry down and realized who I really was, and the first time I was able to see what my character was, why I was there. I was young, but you still have purpose when you're young. I love the treasure map thing, man. That really is, if you're familiar with Simon Sinek and the idea to start with why, well, that treasure map to me, kind of more, not so tangible, more foo-foo metaphorical, is really your why. Because when you struggle and you get defeated, let's say you're a parent and you're raising your young daughter, and that's your reason why, you're not going to let that thing down, whatever it is, whatever your why. So you got to find your why. I totally agree. And to add to what you said, and I totally agree with this as well. You didn't exactly say this. I'm kind of putting in my own words, but you got to focus on your trajectory and not a goal or an end game thing that you're trying to do. Because you don't know, you might hit it big tomorrow and that thing might click, or it might take 3 years. So if you're looking at that goal, try to focus on the trajectory and think of them as benchmarks that they're going to happen, right? Have that confidence.
You'll find your
don't
why.
Get stuck up on when. It might take you. Yeah, exactly. And somebody might be like, dude, I have no why. I live by myself. I got nothing. If you take a look back at your past, I guarantee you there's something that has motivated you, inspired you, that you could use to help someone, help yourself, or spread a message out to people to help them live better lives. I don't care who you are. Anybody, literally anybody, unless you've been living in a hole for 90 years. Once you realize that, it's a game changer, man. And then again, focus on the trajectory. Don't look at that hard goal. It's important to write stuff down every day, and don't get off the wagon and not make. And one more thing about that, I thought this when you said it. Don't write down simple goals every day, like get out of bed, don't hit snooze. Write down stuff that's really going to get you towards your goal. I've seen that a lot in this group I'm into. People start setting up their first key performance indicators and what they're going to be doing, and it's like, dude, you can do better than that. Come on. Yeah, for sure, man.
Jeff, I want to challenge that just for a second. You know what? In the beginning, I had to do that. You know that? I had to. Yeah, you're right. You're right. No, I agree. It was silly. It's like, dude, I know to drink water. I know to wash the dishes. But it gave me something to do. And then as time went and I did those things, my goals and where I was going evolved on those pieces of paper. It went from materialistic and tangible to like characters, characteristics and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome, dude. I love that. No, no, you don't challenge at all. That's genius because you're right. I guess there are some people who might hear this, or people out there who might be in a really,
Mm-hmm.
really bad situation. And they might need to start with the most basic stuff,
Brush
like
your teeth.
smile when I look in the mirror, or yeah, yeah, right. No, that's fantastic, dude. And I think I'm going to end with that. That's great. It doesn't matter really where you're at. You got it. The idea of compound growth can start anywhere, and once you start getting traction, you're good. It's that simple, right? So believe in yourself. Write down your goals, think of them as benchmarks, and just keep moving forward. It's awesome, man. So again, I don't feel like we're done, but I'm gonna have to wrap it up here in a couple of minutes. But before we do that, just you and once we're done, we'll connect right after this, and I'll get all your links. But if you want to just describe briefly where people can find you, the best place to connect, and then if you have any long-term goals that you want to talk about, or things that you're really excited about for your future,
Yep.
I'd like to hear
So
both
all my
those things.
handles are at the Joshua Lowery. The dog training companies at Crystal Coast K9, Facebook, Instagram, blog. And then long term,
Gotcha.
the reason why I'm doing everything I'm doing is it goes back to when I saw that guy jump the Great Wall of China. It's to build the skate park to inspire other children, teenagers, and even adults who've given up skating to come back and to relive what they've given up.
That's incredible, man. Wow, that's awesome. I will be one of the first people there to follow my
You're
ass because
welcome.
I don't know how to
You're
skateboard,
always
but I'll be there for sure when you build it. That's incredible, dude. Yeah, you kind of gave me a little goosebumps there, dude. That's how I know it's real. That's awesome. I'm not even kidding. That's fantastic. It's one of these things where I've got this asinine, unwavering confidence that is unshakable, and I know you do too. So I already see this. This already
Right.
exists. We're just not there yet. So I'm excited to see it get built, man. To see the
Thank you.
foundation being poured. That's awesome. So look, let's keep in touch. We'll set up another time to talk. I'm excited to help promote your business and chat again to see how everything is going. So this has been incredible, dude. I had a feeling, but not quite this much. So thanks
Thank you
a
for
lot
having
for
me,
being
Jeff.
here. I really appreciate it.
Alrighty.
Yeah, for sure. We'll chat soon. All right.